Hey everyone, it is the first Tuesday of the month. You know what that means. For those of you who know a little something about the channel, that means that we're going to get into our RPG Elite philosophy. And we're doing quality number 5 today. So let's get right into it. For those of you who are new to the channel, I want to welcome you to RPG Elite. This is the place, folks, where we put the RP, the role playing, the ROLE playing back into RPG. And we do this for you to give you tools and tips and tutorials. And we just have real talk about it, which is what we're going to do today with the RPG Elite philosophy. We're going to talk about some things in the RPG space. Why? Well, so you can have a more immersive and enjoyable experience in your tabletop RPG campaigns. Welcome aboard. Welcome back, my leets and my returnees. Returnees, come on. Come on. I gotta say it. I gotta say it. Let's do this. Let's do this. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell. And if you get any value after this, after you watch the whole thing, then you need to crush that like button. No, I don't do that for every single video because then it would get old, and I don't want it to get old. That's kind of like one of my mantras, baby. That's my thing. Shoot, I don't want it to get old. Okay. 5th quality today, number 5. 5th quality of the RPG Elite philosophy. Let's talk a little bit about this just to set some expectations and understanding when we talk about RPG Elite philosophy. When it comes to this, I am providing information. I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again. I am providing information on what it means to be RPG Elite or an RPG Elite. So you can use the term as either an adjective or a noun. It's up to you. They can be used interchangeably. But I am presenting information. This is what RPG Elites believe. This is more than just a philosophy. It is an attitude, philosophy, and a standard. So I want to kind of put that out there for you guys so you don't, because, somebody's about to get upset. Somebody's about to get bothered a little bit. And I was talking to my wife about this the other night. I was telling her, like, there's always just a couple. It's not bad on the channel. It's just a couple, that always get a little bothered about the things I say and how I say it. And I told her, I say, well, the thing that I have to say to those people is, oh, well, I guess you're just going to have to get upset about it. RPG Elite philosophy is 30 years of my experience. It's something that I have codified in this way. And I'm not going to change because I know it works. I've put this into practice. Works every single time, having this kind of outlook if you want to be RPG Elite. But I think also RPG Elite philosophy is a voice. It's another thing that I believe it is. And it is a voice for those of us in the community who we believe these things. But once we bring up these things, you got the tabletop RPG bullies that like to come out. That's one of the reasons why people dislike me. I'm almost guaranteeing this. It's not because somebody has said it. It's just because of some of the attitudes that come out. And it's this. They don't like it because I deal with bullies. That's my wheelhouse. And instead of just being a place where we can talk about this in a space and have differing views, that's fine. I am not so fragile to where I think that everybody needs to agree with me and I'm going to get upset if you disagree with me. I'm not saying that. It's just how you disagree with me. And that's the issue and the problem. And how some people disagree. It's not just on this channel. Obviously, this is all over YouTube. But how people disagree with other people is very infantile. Very, very infantile. And y'all know I just won't tolerate that. If it gets out of hand, I will just say, bye, Felicia. And you can hit the door and well, I won't say the rest. So I just want to let you guys know, when we get into these kind of talks, and especially when we get into RPG Elite philosophy, it is presenting information. You can agree, you can disagree, you can comment. That's fine, that's great. But understand, the philosophy is not going to change. And in terms of how I come off, hey, WYSIWYG. That's all I got to say. And if that ain't cool, I guess it ain't cool. I don't know why you're stopping by here if it's not. But all right, here we go. RPG Elite quality number 5. And here's the reason why this may get some people upset, because RPG Elite quality number 5 is RPG Elites don't play with any and everyone. Now in this video, I'm going to break it up into 2 videos. I think it's worthy of that. And this is just like the last quality, because there are 2 different sides that we're going to come at this. Today, in this video, we're going to identify 6 player types that RPG Elites won't play with. These are 6 player types we just are not going to deal with. So let's get into RPG Elite quality number 5 and look at player type number 1. And in order to do this, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get out of this studio, my basement here, which is my little studio, and get out of here. And we're going to take a ride. We're going to take a ride. We're going to go around town a little bit. We're going to get some fresh air, because it's beautiful outside. And here in Ohio, the weather broke a little bit for a couple of days at least. It's supposed to be like this. And I want to take advantage of it. So let's go and talk about these 6 player types. Let's talk about the disinterested. Well, these are the kind of players who would rather be anywhere except at the RP session. Normally what you'll try to do is they will try to get a conversation going that's on some tangent that's not really related to the campaign session. Or they'll do something else. They'll like look down and they'll be playing on their phone, or they'll be looking at other sections of a game manual, or either be looking at some other book, or just anything else that is going to hold their interest, because they're not really interested in the campaign. They're just waiting for something better to come along in order for them to go do that. Whew, man, telling you, it's getting a little toasty out there. Good weather in Ohio starting to come up, I'll tell you. Well, here we go. So the uninvested, who are they? Well, these are the players who are the ones who are late. And I'm not just talking about the 10 minutes late, but they're late like by a half an hour, and it's chronic. It's like you are chasing them down more than you are playing with them. Sometimes you may call them up and they might answer. Normally they don't. By the time that they actually do answer, then they give you some lame excuse about, why they didn't show up, right? It's always something more important to do than actually come to the session that they talked about. By the way, I'm in a place right now called Nevermore Used Books. It's like the only used bookstore here in the area where I'm at. I'm in Toledo, Ohio. And he allowed me to come in here and do a little something. So I think that's cool. So the uninvested, these are the people that are difficult to nail down, to be actually committed. So I guess another term for them would be that they're uncommitted, which would be correct. All right, so you know what? Even though it's nice and cool in here, I think I'm gonna go to the mall next. Let's see what we can talk about there, because I got another one. And I think you guys know about this one because I've already talked about them a couple of times. Well, I decided to come to a place where walk my dog every now and again when we go shopping and my wife's in the store and I'm like, let's go back here. It's a nice little out of the way place. Because I tried to go to the mall and, well, apparently I can't bring my camera into the mall to record myself, though I can bring my phone. And I can record with my phone. Don't ask. That makes all kinds of sense, right? But let's go ahead and let's talk about the one that I've already talked about in a couple of videos. I talked about it in my role players versus role players video. And I also talked about it in my RPG Elite's role play. We believe that it's required 2 video series, and that is role players, R-O-L-L players. These guys are, as I've said before, they like to stay in the low level RP, right? They like to stay in the structured RP. They don't like to go to the high level RP, which is really what role playing is about. It's the acting, it's the character, it's the immersion. They like to stay in the low level. That's where they're safe. Well, RPG Elites don't like playing with those individuals. And they might be cool individuals outside of that, right? But we don't play with role players, or we would rather not play with role players. We'd rather just find other ROLE players. But since they stay in the low level, and RPG Elites are always trying to get to the high level, you can see where that would be a little bit of a problem. So role players, yeah, we'd rather not. Okay, here we are, nice little shade spot. Getting kind of hot out here. Let's talk about the soloist. The soloist is, well, you know, they are about themselves, right? They want the best gear. These are the min-maxers of the game. They want the best gear. Then they're trying to, quote, win, unquote, the game. And they're trying to do it against the other players and the GM, not just the GM. The GM is bad enough, but they're trying to do it against everybody. And if the players want to go in a different direction than what they want to go, they're just going to go off by themselves. Again, it is a classic case of narcissism with some sociopathic tendencies, because it's always about them. All eyes on me is what their actions say constantly. And they can become the disinterested if it doesn't go their way. Well, they're all annoying, right? But these particular individuals don't know anything about teamwork. It's not a collaborative effort for them. It's every man for himself. Whew. Get a little hot out there. Had to come in for a little bit here at my local gaming store. We're getting ready to talk about the activist. Yeah, out of all of the player types, this one probably annoys me the most. These are the ones that want to bring their personal or their political or their even sometimes religious agenda to the game. And then they want to press that out. It's not about a collaborative storytelling effort. That's not it. It's all about their agenda and pressing that out, and then it has to be certain things in the game in order for them to play, and it has to be related to whatever political agenda or whatever it is that they have. Yeah. No, we're here for a collaborative storytelling endeavor. And if you're not here for that, then, well, you can play with other people who want to bring all of that baggage, but we're going into another world. This is the reason why the whole idea is called escapism. It's called escapism because we want to escape. We don't want the same thing that we have in this world in that world. We want there to be believability, but not realism. Those are two different things, by the way, if you didn't know. Realism is you might as well just stay here. You might as well just stay and have a chat about what's going on, or have a chat about what could go on, right? That would be realism. But we don't want that. We want believability. What we want is things that are going to spark the imagination. Got a lot of things going on here. It's kind of crowded in here. And at first I didn't know if I was going to come in here, but I decided, why not, you know? I mean, you know, getting some different looks, different things going around in the area where I live, that kind of thing. So you might hear somebody in the background, but yeah, the activist is just one of those player types that, to me, is the most annoying out of all of them, except one. And that's the last one we're going to talk about. So let's go. All right, well, for the last one, we're just going to keep it locked in right here. I'm back here in the old, I guess it's a studio. I mean, it is a studio. I'm sitting here recording, right? My place and space in my basement here. And we're going to talk about the last player type, which is the monster. The monster is a player type that is either an amalgam of the player types that we've already talked about, or an amplified version of one of the ones that we've talked about, or both. But there's an added element to the monster, and that is they're just toxic. These are people who just have problems. They have problems as human beings. And this comes out in a tabletop RPG session. And it affects everyone at the table. And it is very toxic. And RPG elites are not going to have that. No. We are not going to have that. And so monsters, we are either monster killers, because if I'm in a particular campaign and there's a monster, I deal with that monster immediately, right there. We're not going any further until I deal with it. Because I ain't playing around, okay? Again, I only live once. I don't want you wasting my time, because my time is life. And if you're wasting my time, we're going to deal with that. And we're going to deal with that right now. Because not only are you wasting my time, but you're wasting everybody else's time. And so I need, as a GM, to protect my players, and I will do that without blinking. And that is something, just a little side note, that GMs need to do. Or even if you're in a campaign as an RPG elite and you're not the GM and the GM ain't doing nothing, yeah, you need to step in. You need to say something yesterday, like right now, especially with monsters. Yeah, you can't let monsters go. Cannot let monsters go. So that's it, folks. 6 player types that RPG elites will not play with. And this stuff is not personal. Like, outside of that, as I've said earlier in the video, man, we could go out, we can go to movies, we can go out to eat, you can come over, you can chill out, we can do anything else. We play some board games, we can have fun. Cool. Except when it comes to playing tabletop RPGs. Then I'm going to have to say, nah, bruh, but do your thing. Do your thing. And let me give you an example of this. You guys who've been following the channel know that I've recently lost a friend. And me and Jim we've been friends since high school, junior high, man. And we grew up playing RPGs together, tabletop RPGs. And I'm the one that introduced him to the whole concept of role-playing even back then. And he was not like me in that regard. Jim was not an RPG elite. I'll tell you that right now. Would I play with Jim? Yeah, because he wasn't any of the other players either, right? He did believe in some of the tenets of being an RPG elite, but he's kind of one of those people. He was one of those people that, you know, bless his heart, he just, I just want everybody to get along. And I would just tell him, Jim, everybody can't get along. He's like, oh man, you're just so stringent sometimes. I'm like, yes, I am. We would have these conversations all of the time. But if I were to choose particular individuals to be a part of my group, listen, me and Jim, 30 years, loved him. Loved him. But when it came to tabletop RPGs, he wasn't my first phone call. See, it's that serious for me. And again, I love that dude. That was my brother from another mother of a different color. Bar none. So this is how serious it is for me. Now, for some RPG elites, it may not be that serious, but it is for me. So I just wanted to give you that quick little example. And there's reasons, though, why. It's not simply preference, but there's reasons why RPG elites won't play with these 6-player types. And that is what we're going to talk about in our next video. So until next week, folks, I'm going to get busy on that video. And if you got a game going on this week, well, you know what I'm going to say. I am going to say happy gaming, and I see you on the flip, God willing. Peace.